Hi everyone, my name is Ann Little. I'm with the Fredericksburg Tree Stewards, and welcome to our tree prep area today. We're going to take a look at this tree that just came in, and I don't even think it's got a name. It does. Okay, it's a Nuttall oak, which we're trying to plant as many oaks as possible in our city because oaks are so good for wildlife. An oak species can support over 550 species of pollinators, butterflies, and mammals. So trying to get oaks into the ground is really critical. So we did not special order. Sometimes we special order from our nursery and we get a whole different kind of plant than we're getting today. So this is what if you go to the nursery, this is what you're going to find. You'll notice I have eye protection on. Anytime you're working around a tree, you want to have eye protection. If you don't, you're going to get stuck in the eye, and then I've got to drive you to the emergency, and I get really cranky when I have to do that. So we talk about taking all the packaging off of a tree. On a 15-gallon tree, there's not very much. We're just going to take off the ties. If we left those ties, and I've got some pictures of people leaving those ties, they grow into the tree and make a weaker tree, and that's not what we want. We also are going to take off this bamboo because it's not necessary to have it. Now you've got a 15-gallon pot holding now about 1.5 inch caliper tree. That is going to be way too much tree to roots. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pruning these roots. But first off, I don't think this is going to come off until we start prepping. We're going to be looking for the tree collar. And that's the flare at the bottom of a tree. And if you kind of look at this tree over here, you see there's a little bit of a tiny flare there. That's the lungs of the tree. And if that's above the surface of the ground, that's really important because that tree is going to be able to access more oxygen. 3 important things for trees: oxygen, oxygen, and oxygen. Okay? There's 3 things that are, or 2 other things that are involved with that: soil and oxygen, and water and oxygen. If you have too much water, you're going to negate the oxygen, and if you don't have the correct soil, the tree is not going to be able to access oxygen. This big tree behind us only goes down 18 to 24 inches. That's it. But it goes way out. It's sending its feeder roots way out to get oxygen out of the soil. If we think that we're going to put that tree deeper in the ground and it's going to do better, we're actually doing that tree a disservice. So what we're going to do with this tree is we're going to try to find the collar first off, and we're going to do that over here in the tree pit because we're going to break this soil up, and then we're going to have to probably prune these roots quite severely. Once a root turns, it always turns, and so when a root comes off of this tree and comes to the edge of this pot and starts turning, that's called a girdling root. And if it continues to girdle, then eventually this tree gets really big and that root gets really big, and the 2 of them choke each other off. And then we have a dead tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to help this tree out, and we're going to help straighten out its roots. Think of a little kid that's been playing out in the playground for 8 hours and the wind's been blowing, and now we got to straighten out her hair. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing with this. But we're going to do it with water and some pruning, and we've got a whole bunch of experts over here that know what they're doing. We do most of our planting in the fall, late fall, usually late October, November, December, even January if snow's on the ground. Why is that? Because that gives our roots a chance to get going, and the soil is warm enough still for those roots to penetrate the soil, plus it's moist, and the little baby roots that you're going to see a little later on, they are like threads, and for them to penetrate the soil, if it's dry, they're not going anyplace. They need to have the soil moist. Those roots and this canopy have to balance each other. They have a hormone in there called auxins, and they talk to each other. The hormones in the roots say, I need more canopy. The canopy says, I need more roots. So the first time we put these trees in the ground, they're just going to sit there. First year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. And we've seen that pretty much what happens. So if you can't plant in the fall because you can't source your trees or you just don't have the time, spring is the next best time. But you want to plant before the buds break. And what does that mean? So here's a bud on this oak tree. You can't even see them, but they're little tiny, tiny, tiny buds right there at the tip. And we want to plant it before that bud breaks, because if we do it after it breaks, the tree is stressed for us removing some of the soil and pruning the roots, and just the act of planting is going to stress that tree. So we want to go ahead and get this tree in the ground before we break bud. And so that means we're right at the 19th of March. We're going to get this in the ground before the end of March, if not before. All right, so we're going to prep this tree now to get it ready for root pruning. So we're going to, that's not coming out. Is that coming out? Oh yeah, there you go. Maybe. Let's take it and, okay, you got it. All right, again, we're taking all that packaging off. So what we're going to do, first of all, is this is planted in a mulch medium. It's not soil. So if you planted this in the ground just the way it is, it's going to dry out because mulch dries out. And we don't want it to dry out. We want to keep those little baby roots moist, because the moister those little baby roots are, the healthier they are, the more they're going to grow. So what we want to do is, you can see, we're down to the core down here and it's drying out down here. If on the bottom it's kind of compacted, we'll even saw that piece off. And we're going to be careful not to damage any of the big roots. But a lot of these small roots, they're going to have to go, because we're going to be doing a lot of cutting and a lot of washing. So Keith's going to bounce this for me a little bit, because I'm 76 and too damn old to do it myself. Okay, you want to do a little bouncing there? All right. Let me get that side. Some people take a saw. You can take a chainsaw and you can just cut it in quarters. We're doing a little more finessing on this.
A handsaw, right?
Yeah, a handsaw, or I've seen it done with chainsaw.
That's bold.
It's very bold. It's a little stupid. Okay. Let's try it bouncing it again. We might cut the bottom off a little bit, okay? All right, so we're going to look right now. Leave it up here for a second. Point it towards him. There we go. And where is that collar, that flare? Hand me that, would you?
What's that?
Hand me the Maddox. And I don't see it even here. So if we bury this, it's not going to get us enough oxygen. Every inch of soil reduces the oxygen level by 10%. So if you have 5 inches of extra soil on there, your tree has just gone down in the ability to live by 50%. Still haven't found that flare, but we're going to go looking for it. So we know, though, that we've got to go down. You can see that's over 3 inches that were buried already, okay? We're going to cut the bottom off. Want to saw the bottom off? Because, again, this tree isn't going to go down, it's going to go out. So we're going to cut it off because it's just compacted at the bottom. Now we're saving this mulch because once the tree has been root washed, we've got to keep those little baby roots moist. So we're going to put it back in a pot, put the mulch back on top of it, and then when we take it out to be planting, then we're going to bare root it one more time, but it's going to be real easy. Okay? All right, so at this point, we're going to move over here and get a hose and see if we can find the collar.